Story 1. Do not misunderstand me when I am trying. Mostly, people make little effort to understand. Story 2. Accuse me of something I did not do. You want me to never speak to you again or even acknowledge you. Try that. Story 3. People talk to me like I'm stupid. I don't mind being called stupid or anything directly, but saying obvious things to me pisses me off. I need to fill up my car. You know you can get gas at the gas station, right? I had no idea. Story 4. Someone being rude to a cashier who did nothing wrong. Yes, I have seen some poor cashiers, but I am talking about the sad people who were given so many tasks that it would take 4 people to accomplish. Some impatient person gets upset because they have to wait 30 seconds. My physical build is like Shaquille O'Neal, so I can easily just yell, "Hey, stop it! Enough!" And they hang their head down low like, "Please don't treat me like the person from the prison you just got released from." Story 5. Sensory overload, general display of disrespect, and the absence of common sense. Story 6. Talking to me as if I am a child. I am 19 years old and have been a phlebotomist for 2 years. Some of my older coworkers who recently obtained their licenses speak to me as though I have never had a job before. Story 7. Hurt an animal. Push your religion on me. Push your politics on me. Dig your gun into my hip without asking. Be rich. Story 8. Being mean to my best friend? Oh no, the only person who can be unkind to her is me. Story 9. Alcohol legitimately turns people into monsters. I also dislike a person named Jimmy. Story 10. Touch my frying pan or spoon. I cannot handle that. I realize it is abnormal, but I will melt down. Story 11. Doubting my integrity. If I make an error or do anything where something goes wrong, I take ownership of the problem and work hard to get it fixed. Do not try to play a blame game with me. If I have done it, you already know because I told you, and it is probably already resolved to the client or other person's satisfaction. Story 12. In Spain, people use Nina, meaning girl, both as a kind nickname and in a condescending way to imply that you know nothing about a subject. This is mostly used by young adult women. There is no equivalent negative use for men. I dislike it a lot. Older women also do this. I am 30 years old. Why do you call me Nina? I was a Nina 20 years ago, please stop. Story 13. Car horn. Cut me off, that's fine. Maybe it was a mistake. A car horn is never a mistake. Story 14. Littering, especially when it is right next to a trash can, is unacceptable. Take 2 seconds to do the bare minimum to protect the planet you live on, for God's sake. Story 15. When someone rejects basic facts. I used to work with a female manager at a Boy Scouts of America summer camp. I was a dishwasher, and she was honestly a good manager with a go-get-them attitude. But all you need to know about her is that on her first day on the job, she said, "I get all my information from Twitter. That's all I need to know." One day, I was talking to one of the chefs about sharks because they are cool. At one point, I said, "You know, sharks kill surprisingly few people each year." She overheard and said, "No, they kill hundreds of thousands of people each year." I then pulled up an article by the Australian Institute of Marine Science, a government-approved website, and highlighted the sentence that sharks kill an average of 6 to 10 people each year. She looked right at it and, without even blinking, just said, "They're wrong." I have never in my life felt the urge to turn into a puddle of hydrochloric acid. Story 16. Being rude and disrespectful to people under the guise of free speech. Story 17. Talk to me in public while I have 2 earbuds in instead of 1. Story 18. Honestly, just opening Reddit. For about the last 6 to 7 years. Why are we still here? Story 19. Asking me why I am angry when I am not. Apparently, my concentrating face is very similar to my angry face. Now you have distracted me by asking why I am in a mood that I was not even in, which does make me angry. Story 20. When I can hear someone eat and chew food, especially when they lick their fingers and make that sucking noise. Story 21. I feel like reading this question being posted for the 50th millionth time makes me a little angry. Story 22. Homophobic religious people. You can tell it is because of their parents. It also contradicts most religions. Story 23. A fly keeps landing on your face after you have swatted it away multiple times. Story 24. Bombard me on the last lap of Mario Kart with a bunch of unavoidable items when I have held the lead the entire race. Story 25. Racism and tribalism do not make me angry, mostly just hopeless. It is e pluribus unum, Latin for out of many, one, not e pluribus pluribus. It is written right on our currency. Yet the point is lost on everyone, and we are more divided than ever. Everyone is associated with some faction. People shoot each other fatally in the streets, steal, scam, and deceive. United we stand, divided we fall. Story 26. Insult my intelligence and persistently misinterpret what I am trying to say. Story 27. Smoke in a place where smoking is clearly prohibited. Or, take full credit for an idea that was entirely someone else's. Story 28. Commit a crime, even if it is just a minor felony, and I will be blasting my steam harder than Majin Buu. Story 29. Stop looking at your phone at the turn signal. There is enough time for 3 cars and you took all of it. Story 30. Don't touch me. I hate when people touch me without asking first. Story 31. By telling me how I feel, my girlfriend says I am mad or annoyed when I am not and am just having a calm discussion. That makes me mad and annoyed, which of course proves her point. Story 32. People who are unpleasant and have no sense of humor. Their lives are difficult, so they take it out on you. Story 33. Lying. I am an open and brutally honest neurodivergent person. Therefore, a lie is more than an untruth. It is an insult to both my intelligence and my existence. If you participate in roasting or criticizing someone, you need to accept that at some point the favor will be returned. You should not throw stones if you live in a glass house. Story 34. Have AskReddit show up in my feed with clickbait inquiries. Story 35. When underwater nuclear testing awakens me from my eons-long slumber. Story 36. When I cannot get my arms through the armholes of my shirt, I realize it is on backwards. Story 37. Standing behind someone who is buying lottery tickets at a gas station. 1 or 2 is fine, any more and I lose my calm. Story 38. People who think they can pierce because they bought one of those piercing guns. Also, people usually of European descent who want to get a tattoo with Hanzi, Kanji, or Hanja characters without knowing exactly what they mean, and then become irritated when I refuse to tattoo them because I will not do something they do not understand. Story 39. Act dumb. Be a supporter of Donald Trump. Misuse any of my belongings. Story 40. Time wasted makes me mad. It is the one thing you cannot get back. Story 41. My wife told me that someone gave her a hard time at work. Story 42. Trying to hurt me intentionally without any reason. Once I broke a guy's fingers for it. He hit my head with an aluminum bottle because I told him not to spit in the classroom. Story 43. Turn your back on me while I am talking to you. I am known to be a very patient person. Really, you can stab me and I can forgive you for it. But turn your back and walk away while I am talking, and you will feel my fury bubble like soda in a hot pot. Story 44. If I am not heavily medicated, quite literally anything can upset me. It is frustrating, but everything makes me instantly angry. Story 45. Using an impact wrench on my oil plug. Forget you, Jiffy Lube. Forget you. Story 46. I work in a fruit shop. The waste has to be weighed to know how much we throw away. The manual says that we should bag everything we throw away, but nobody does it and everything is mixed together. This always makes me angry and is the #1 reason why I am leaving this December. Story 47. When I present logical reasoning and facts in an argument, and they still refuse to listen. Story 48. When you apologize politely, even if it is clearly not your mistake, and the other party throws insults and profanities knowingly, it is their fault. Story 49. When someone puts down someone else for a quick laugh. I understand playful talk and banter, and when it's mutual, it's all good fun. But I had a friend who used to bring up embarrassing things that her friends told her in confidence out of nowhere just to try to be funny, and it became annoying and insulting quickly. She would get very upset and angry if anyone said anything like that about her. The worst was one night when she revealed something about one of our mutual friends to her girl group of friends we had never met before. He went home shortly after that, and we all followed him out because it was getting annoying and insulting. Story 50. When I cannot access an account login and cannot retrieve the password by resetting it either. Story 51. Confidently and hilariously wrong people just do not give up what they are saying, no matter what. It is worse when they know they are wrong but will not admit it because of ego. Story 52. Saying, "You know what your problem is?" when we do not know each other. Story 53. When people believe and repeat deliberate falsehoods they know are untrue. Story 54. When people try to correct you. Schrodinger's antagonists. The females. People going out of their way to purposely dead-name or misgender others. Story 55. When someone says I am wrong without explaining why, if the person is unkind, I do not care. However, if it is someone I truly care about, I become sad. I get angry with everyone in between. Story 56. When someone is bullying my younger sibling, only I can help. Story 57. It is not a Chevrolet SS. It is a Holden Commodore. The Americans just rebadged it. Story 58. By waking me up, getting mad at me for taking care of myself for once, lying about me behind my back to the people we work with, lying to employers because you do not like me as a person, and throwing a fit every time you see me. People may not like me as a person, but do not act like you are in high school when we are 20 to 30 years old. Grow up. Story 59. Be insincere. Change their mind at the last moment. Be unpleasant. Not jokingly. Story 60. What? I'm not angry. Why do you ask such inappropriate questions? Who gives you the right? I think it depends on my mood. Sometimes I'm calm. Once, it took someone shouting insults in my face for several minutes before I got angry. But other times, I'm like a sleepless, grumpy old lady going through menopause with no man for years, wondering, why do these stupid people even exist? Over very little things like walking slowly. Story 61. Driving below the speed limit in the passing lane as if you own the road. Story 62. If someone takes or uses my things without asking. Hurting animals is my ultimate hate. I really get angry about people belittling others whom they believe are inferior. The mean girl groups exist not just at school but also in social and work settings. I strongly oppose such behavior. Story 63. Take 10 whole seconds to move your body after the light turns green. Story 64. When I am finally able to focus on something and something urgent comes up, I feel distracted because I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Story 65. Someone snapping their fingers to get my attention. Certain situations I understand. It depends on who and the circumstances. If my wife is on the phone and I am preoccupied. Sure. But when I worked in any customer service or hospitality field, that was the easiest way to irritate me. That dismissive snap for my attention. When it happens now, I make it clear that I do not like it. Story 66. Anytime you buy a game or the disc now, you have to download the entire game or the subscription for it. Sometimes, if you do not have the subscription, the game is basically unplayable, which forces you to spend more money to play the game. I remember when games did not have those blocks, you could just insert the disc and play. That is ridiculous. Story 67. Attention-seeking, having a big ego, being annoying, clingy, or weird when we just met. Story 68. Gamma rays. How do you not know this? The quickest way to make anyone angry is always gamma rays. Story 69. Yelling followed by being loud. I have worked on not getting triggered by loud talking, but when my parents screamed at each other, they said they were just being loud. I just hate loud voices in general. Story 70. My daddy always told me never argue with a child. Never argue with an intoxicated person. Both just want to see what you look like when you are mad. That's all. Story 71. Walking slowly in front of me as if we are in a scenic movie montage, but I am just trying to get to my snacks. Story 72. 1. Somebody insisting in front of an authority that I did something that did not happen, especially if they bring it up again later. 2. If at the exact moment I make a mistake, for example in gaming, somebody I care about makes a serious comment or complaint about my performance, no matter how good I am otherwise, and if I am annoyed by my mistake. 3. Slow driver or cyclist is fine. Slow driver and I cannot overtake is frustrating. Slow driver, I cannot overtake, and the situation is avoidable because the driver could use the bike lane right next to them is maddening, especially for an extended period of time. Story 73. The quickest way to make me angry is to type there when you mean there or they are. My circuits can only handle so much grammatical chaos before I start overheating. Story 74. 1. When someone insults or attacks someone I care about. 2. Sexism because, god dang it, me being a woman has nothing to do with me having to ask where to put the damn screws. Stefan. And it sure as hell is not a special and incredible unbelievable view to see a woman drive an excavator. Story 75. Speaking badly of someone out of prejudice, I have stopped speaking to or interacting with people completely for that. Story 76. Clean up after me like a housekeeper, or really bother me to do something I was about to start doing or do shortly. I am a weirdo. Story 77. The quickest way to make me angry is when someone is being disrespectful or dismissive of others, especially regarding basic kindness or empathy. Story 78. Probably treating me like a child. I get it, there are moments when everyone acts like a child, but I am referring to the general treatment. I will be 24 in 2 months, and my mom would come into my room and say, "You have to get up. You have to go to work." No kidding. I thought Grandpa came back to live and visit us. I know I have work, and I know when I have to be there, when I have to get up to get ready, and when I have to leave home to be on time. I am not a child. I do get the motherly concern. I really do. You want the best for your child and want to keep them safe from making mistakes. But how am I supposed to become a fully functioning adult if you keep controlling my life? Sometimes you have to make mistakes to learn. Story 79. When someone says something about me that is not true, more specifically when my father says, "Oh, you did that on purpose," when it was just an accident. Story 80. When someone tells me to do something I was just about to do, I no longer want to do it. Story 81. Being called ladink sounds like a medicine for acid reflux, not a name for a group for a person who grew up in Tamaulipas. Story 82. It really takes a lot to make me angry, but the thing that triggered it last time was wanting to beat up my husband and a friend of ours. Story 83. Enter my home wearing anything supporting former President Donald Trump. You will not be there long. Story 84. I have misophonia. People eating chips or chewing gum around me aggravate me. Story 85. Ask me to do something that you can do yourself. Ask me to go out of my way to do something that would actually be easier for you to do. This kind of behavior makes me very angry quickly. Story 86. Do not speak badly about my cats or suggest that they have done anything wrong. I will take action. Story 87. Eye contact with a person who betrayed my trust and whom I once considered a dear friend. Story 88. Someone praises Knives Out or Glass Onion in front of me. Story 89. Patronizing me, both in the way you act and what you say. I cannot handle that. Story 90. Dealing with the die-hard Taylor Swift haters quietly. Like, her music sucks. No, you think her music sucks. That's your opinion, not fact. I'm not even a fan of Taylor Swift or anything. I think 1989 was a decent album and that's about it. The rampant hate towards her fans is even worse, honestly. Story 91. Talking while we are watching a movie causes apoplectic rage if you are asking me questions about what is going to happen next. Fully aware that we are both watching it for the first time. Story 92. Hurt my cats, family, or friends. You know I will be coming after you, especially if you hurt my cats. Story 93. People expressing opinions they believe are intelligent. One should remain calm and not get angry, but. Story 94. Assume I am seeking information related to drama whenever I ask a basic question. Story 95. Offer me banana cream pie and never actually produce it. Story 96. High school students who bully their peers with autism. I grew up with a family member with autism, and nothing upsets me more than a mean, self-conscious teenager who pretends to befriend another teenager with autism, but makes fun of them in a way they cannot understand. Story 97. Used to be telling me to do things I am about to do. Nowadays it means being late. Story 98. Watching someone completely disrespect and bully another person over something they cannot control. Story 99. Blocking me instead of trying to communicate and solve the problem. Like what the heck, Edward. Story 100. Keep pushing me to say or do something I am not willing to. Story 101. Insulting or harming friends or family is unacceptable. I am an old man, and I do not care what is said about me. Nobody hates me like I hate myself, but that mentality is why I place such a high value on those close to me. I hate conflict but will act almost impulsively if someone targets my loved ones. One of my favorite examples. Someone ignorant called my friend a racial slur on a post about action figures. It was not even the correct racial slur. They just saw the name and went into hate mode. My friend laughed it off. I made sure the person was unemployed by the next day. Story 102. Invite someone, especially a stranger, to a pre-planned hangout without informing me. Story 103. People who think they win an argument by interrupting others and not letting them speak are childish. Story 104. Do something to my dog. I am a reasonable person, but my dog is off limits. I will go from 0 to 1,000,000 real quick. Story 105. Read comments on a Facebook video. All social media platforms have potential for idiots in the comments saying infuriating things. Nothing comes close to Facebook. Even if you dislike other platforms more, I think Facebook has the largest volume of brain-dead people using it. It's like every user is your old high school classmate who still thinks they are important and posts mirror selfies, except they are 40. Story 106. Repeating sounds are annoying. I hate when people leave their keys in the ignition after turning the car off and then opening the door. I also dislike alarms going off for more than 10 seconds or constant loud banging. Story 107. Ask me to do something I am already in the middle of doing. Story 108. Slow cars on the freeway during a long drive. I cannot just set my cruise control and relax. There is always someone driving erratically, speeding up, slowing down, cutting into the safe gap that I have with the car in front of me, and so on. Thanos was right. Story 109. Basically everything iPhone enthusiasts say. You have an Android. I guess you are poor then. Only iPhone has these functions. Show me something that was already on my old Xperia. I like iPhone because of the quality. It has a cracked screen. Story 110. Using an I know, but I do not think I am going to agree with it because it gives me a headache or confusion argument whenever I explain something that is much easier to understand. Story 111. You need to apologize to your brother because he is older. I am like, what the heck, dude? Story 112. Pick up the remote and change the channel as if you were not even there. Story 113. Upset my daughters. I raised my girls alone as a single mother, and I am very protective of them. Story 114. Asking for something but leaving me no options can apply to any situation. For example, if you say you are scared of a dog, I try to calmly redirect it, but you say I should not do that. Or if I have an urgent task at work, but you tell me there is another urgent task to focus on, then ask why the first task is delayed. What do you want? Story 115. Place your sneakers on my kitchen island. My son actually did this last night. Story 116. When someone does or says something that is obviously hurtful or at least distasteful and then immediately asks if I am upset, implying that I am being too sensitive. Story 117. Someone failing to do what they said they would and not acknowledging that fact. Story 118. Insinuate that I am lying, call me a liar, or not listen to me because you think I am lying. I hate liars and I am honest 99% of the time because I cannot lie. I do not know why, but it just will not come out. I think it is some religious guilt from my childhood. Story 119. Eating loudly with your mouth open or talking with a full mouth is disgusting and immediately fills up my rage meter. Story 120. Asking me a bunch of questions as soon as I wake up. I need time to warm up, Story 121. For me, it is gaming on a bad internet connection. I get angry extremely fast because I hardly have time to relax and decompress through gaming. Story 122. Any political propaganda, and even more, being part of the group that believes the political propaganda. Story 123. Treat someone unfairly in a discussion, such as creating a large straw man argument and insisting on it. Story 124. Hurting or insulting my friends and family. If I see someone hurting my friends and family, I am going to make them wish they were never born. Story 125. When I get stuck in ions and start going backwards, I sail robots, rifles, flares, and lasers. Story 126. Slapping or spitting on me, specifically on the face, is something I have dealt with before. As long as it is on my body, I do not think much of it. However, the moment someone touches my face, I immediately have to step away. Something about a slap in the face feels very personal to me. Story 127. Leaving all your friends and moving to a new part of the world. Story 128. Raising your voice or being threatening toward my wife will change your world for the worse if you do it in front of me. Story 129. Ignorance of looking past one's ego in a discussion or argument. Story 130. People were calling me a liar for being ignorant about autism being psychotic in the same way bipolar disorder is. I was angry when I realized they were typing in a cryptic manner instead of leaving. They were basically provoking an episode right after accusing me of being a troll. It's like me going to a forum about autism, calling someone a liar about whether they are autistic or not, then showing them a link to a screaming clip while saying it is ambient music instead of playing it. Story 131. Getting unsolicited medical advice from my dropout, conspiracy believing, no boundary respecting cousin struggling with addiction. Story 132. Put your nose in my business when you have no place there. Story 133. Explain to me something I already know and keep doing it after I ask you to stop. This causes immediate anger. Story 134. Being disrespectful to my child puts me into protective mode very quickly. Story 135. People being rude on the subways, such as stepping onto the train and stopping, not taking off their backpacks to make room for others, and the subways in general being unpleasant. My daily commute is typically smooth, but sometimes it makes me very frustrated. Story 136. Talk and spread gossip about me behind my back. If someone has a problem with me, they should tell me directly. Story 137. Hitting me every time unexpectedly and thinking it's funny just because we are guys, and then trying to manipulate me so you can keep doing it. Thinking about it now makes me very mad. Also, insulting someone and not expecting them to do the same back. If you insult my mother, I will disrespect your entire heritage. It is like hitting someone and not expecting them to knock you into a 2-year coma. Story 138. I cannot stand hypocrites, but I do enjoy calling them out and watching them act foolishly while trying to justify their behavior. Story 139. Picking on someone else. Pick on me, I'll be fine. Messing with someone else? I will lose it. Story 140. Insulting my family is something I do not tolerate. You can say almost anything to me, and I will brush it off easily. However, the moment my family is involved, I become quick-tempered. Story 141. A loud, unexpected noise causes an instant change from calm to furious. Misophonia is very challenging. Story 142. Being in love with yourself. Arrogance and egotism instantly annoy me, as do people who talk about themselves endlessly. And harming animals. Story 143. Denying reality or facts. Inducing guilt. Spitting on me. Story 144. Undermining or belittling me. Constantly interrupting me while I am speaking. Story 145. Accuse me unfairly of something I could not have done. Bonus points if, when I confront you because I heard you did it, you deny it completely. Story 146. Mocking someone with disabilities is unacceptable. I will stand up against that. This was actually how I got into most fights in high school because I would not tolerate that type of harassment. Story 147. People using religion as a shield for doing something wrong. Well, the Bible says. Story 148. Threaten my nieces in my presence. Try it and see what happens. Story 149. Littering drives me absolutely insane. I have had to drag entire fishing nets off the beach before, just discarded because people did not want to spend money to dispose of them properly. Also, if someone ever harmed one of my friends or family without a good reason, I would strike them with a metal bar until I was confident they understood the message. Story 150. Be loud, smug, and confident about something you are completely ignorant of, but that is very easily learned. Story 151. When I carefully stand an almost empty shampoo bottle on the edge of the bathtub while showering, it still falls in. Story 152. Talking at me. If you are just yammering on and on at me, not letting me get a word in edgewise, it starts to make my blood boil. I am not a really angry person. Story 153. Do not interrupt me. Allow me to explain. Story 154. Make me fill out some forms on the computer with it working slowly. It makes me cry with rage. Also, illogical, malevolent, and unjust behavior makes me extremely furious. Story 155. Interfere with my husband, children, or my dog. I become fiercely protective with no questions asked. Story 156. Keep asking me the same question and still trying to convince me 7 times when I said no the first time. Story 157. Actively harm an animal without a valid reason, especially if it is a cat or dog. Story 158. People treating low-wage workers without any respect, especially retail and fast food workers. Story 159. Asking me for technical support by just verbally explaining what your computer is doing in very simple terms. I turned it on, then it turned off, and the program did something funny. Okay, but was there an error message? What program are you running? Did your computer give you any sort of post code or beep code? Have you tried restarting the computer first? Have you tried searching for your issue first? Have you checked the change logs of the program to see if this is an already reported bug, rather than something wrong with your machine? Have you done any research before coming to me with the vaguest description of your problem and expecting me to solve it without even seeing your machine or understanding what is going wrong? It has honestly gotten to the point where when a friend or family member asks me to help with a computer problem, I guide them through setting up Chrome Remote Desktop and giving me a one-time access code so I can remotely access their system and figure out what is going on. Story 160. Accusing me of something I have not done and then telling me to just admit it. Story 161. Hurt my friends. Honestly, I think it is the only scenario that can actually make me act on my anger. Story 162. Throw out all of my Doctor Who merchandise, and I would turn on you faster than you can say, do not blink. Story 163. Teasing my small dog because you think you are big and unintelligent. Story 164. When I am talking to someone, they interrupt me and start talking about their own story without letting me finish mine. Story 165. Be my uncle. This person keeps bragging about what a bad person he is. Story 166. Not listening to me during a discussion about a topic where we have different perspectives is frustrating. Let me hear your argument and why you think the way you do. It goes both ways. It always turns into an argument. I just want to talk to someone who is passionate about this specific topic. But when the other person does not want to listen, it makes my blood boil. Also, not following the rules in a game irritates me. The rules are there for a reason so someone can win fair and square. Story 167. Another note. I'm just going to give an example because I just realized I don't know the word for it in English. Point of view, at a party of some sort. Person 1. I didn't bring any alcohol. Can I have some of yours? Person 2. Of course. Later, person 1 takes more alcohol without asking. Like people who mooch, I guess. A group of friends I have get together almost monthly for either game night or just hanging out. One girl asked another if she could have some of the other girls' mead since she didn't bring any alcohol of her own. She said yes, but since she really looked forward to drinking this mead, she asked if she could just take a little bit. At the next party, the other girl brought it up because we were talking to her about it. She said, "Who brought mead last time?" The first girl then said, "You did." The other girl said, "And who drank 70% of it?" Then the first girl smiled almost from ear to ear and said, "I did," almost proudly. Who does that? Long story not so short. I hate that, and it makes me extremely angry. Story 168. Ableists. I have several disabilities: autism, epilepsy, 22q11 deletion syndrome, and cystic fibrosis. They are all invisible. Not all disabilities are the same, and not all are visible. Story 169. Okay, so something that constantly makes me very angry is when someone starts lying for no reason. For example, saying you met the president when you did not. Or when someone says something that is obviously untrue but acts very serious about it. I want to scream because I hate it. Story 170. If someone does not listen or calls me woman or gives me orders, and they are not my mother. Story 171. Logging on to Facebook, the first post is from a 65-year-old white man who probably coached a little league team I was on. They use the word Democrats in a derogatory way. Story 172. Cutting in line seems like a simple issue to overlook, but I have almost been arrested twice because of it. Cannot stand it. Story 173. Assume ownership of another human being. 6 million years or so, opposable thumbs, the ability to perceive existence and mortality, the whole number, but we cannot get that right. What the heck? Story 174. Someone is messing with a girl. When this happens and I stand up for any girl, everyone always says, "Oh, you have feelings for her." Why? Because I do the right thing. I have a crush on her. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.